Welcome to an episode of Mike Sports. I'm your host, Eric, joined as always by Landry. Landry, how the hell are you tonight?
Well, I can't remember much. I had a concussion, so I don't even know what I'm doing on the show and if I'll be here next week.
Well,
I'm sorry. I mistake myself for Patrick Mahomes, the greatest quarterback ever. Not.
Well, I mean, he got knocked the bleep out during.
Well, they're saying that he pinched a nerve in his neck, which contributed to him not be able to function correctly. And rumor is that he won't be playing. And people are saying they should.
He was at practice today. He was
maybe I'm reading some late news. Then I read that if he's not going to play, the controversy was should the NFL move, their game back a couple of days until. And I was like, no. I was like, you don't make an exception now when no team has had that luxury the whole season.
Well, in the history of ever, they've never done that. That would never happen.
Well, and if that never happened, if that ever happened, then we may have missed when the Bills had a backup quarterback when John Kelly didn't play and had one of the greatest comebacks in NFL history.
Right, over your Houston Oilers.
Yeah.
Back in the day. So
sometimes that's why you don't want your quarterback to start because you never know you might have a history-making backup quarterback sitting on the bench.
And, my organization knows a little something about history-making backups.
All right. So Philip Rivers is retiring.
Yeah. Philip Rivers calling it a day. Not unexpected. A lot of people thought that, that was going to come down. Look, those guys from that 2004 draft class, what a draft class that turned out to be. Eli Manning, he retired a couple of years ago. Now Philip Rivers this year. And Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, he did say he said he wasn't, for the first time in his life, he wasn't feeling it anymore.
Yeah. Well, you know what? And then good on you. Walk away and.
Well, isn't it ironic though? He played 17 years. He's number 17. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah. I can see that. That's pretty cool. I know you're weird about those numbers.
I am. I always said, when people were like, when will Tom Brady retire? I was like, well, what's his number? People are like 12. I was like, so he'll try to play to half of 1246. I always come up with stuff like that. Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm way the fuck off. Dak to me should take $34 million. People are like, no, he should get $40 million. I'm like, no, $34 million because he's not worth $40 million. He's right below that, which is a 3. So give him 34 for the 4 on his jersey on the back of 30. $34 million.
All right.
To me, it makes perfect freaking sense. And I said it's perfect. In 10 years when the salary cap's crazy higher, you still offer him $34 million because you say, dude, it's all about your number. It's not about the market value.
What you can do it for him.
Yeah.
He's like, great. I want the number 99 so I can get $99 million.
AJ Watt's like, hey. Hey, all right. So, Philip Rivers, where do you rank him in quarterbacks? Just you ain't got to be specific like the number. And do you think he's a Hall of Famer? Because that's pretty much what I think the conversation is about him.
Yes, I do think he's a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Maybe not a first ballot because, again, he didn't have the playoffs and championship success. But, as far as a guy just being consistently one of those guys you can count on week in, week out.
Yeah, I don't think he ever missed a game, did he?
No. Not during the regular season. I know he missed the AFC title game one year because he played the second half.
He said he never – when he said, he always made his regular season games, I was like, well, it's not like the motherfuckers ever made the playoffs very often, so you really didn't have to worry about missing the playoffs. But you did miss the playoffs because you sucked.
Well, no, he was in the playoffs one time. He played the second half of a second-round game with a torn ACL.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And advanced the Chargers to the AFC title game.
That's when he had Gates, I think. And didn't he have Tomlinson then too?
Tomlinson may have been there for that, yeah.
Yeah, so, he definitely – my deal with Rivers is I personally – so I think the Hall of Fame needs to be rethought about here. Mm-hmm. Either we're letting people in like Rivers or we're keeping it straight up championship elitists only. There seems to be a debate. Deion Sanders thinks too many people are getting in. Then you have other people going, hey, man, you don't have to have a Super Bowl always to be in there. Sometimes you're just that good. And Dion said, yeah, maybe like 10 or 12 or 15 of those people, but not 50, 60 of them. So I think there's a debate stirring about the Hall of Fame. And, of course, it doesn't really matter because we can't vote it on anyways.
Oh, yeah.
But from a philosophical standpoint, I personally like more of Dion's, philosophy about it, that I think the Hall of Fame should truly be for the transcendent players. I don't think Phillips is a transcendent player. I do think he is a great quarterback. He's above average, but he's not in there with the best. He's not a top 10 at the end of the day. I'd say he's somewhere maybe in the top 25. And we're talking all time, obviously. Mm-hmm. But he kind of reminds me a little bit of a Dan Marino. Not quite the records, but he's got a little bit of Dan Marino to him. I personally like Rivers a lot, especially personally. I just think he's a good person. He's got a quadrillion kids. So he's obviously a family guy. I think he was honest with himself. Personally, I don't think he liked playing on the Colts. I don't think it's for him. But
I don't think he liked up and moving his family. Well, it was either he moved them or he went.
No, I don't think he did. I think at this stage in his life, his kids are like 15 and 16 now. I think he's basically like, look, I'm going to go live out there for 6 months, 5 months. And, hey, when we're knocked out of the playoffs, I'm coming back home. And I think that's just the way he did it. I mean, it's not like he doesn't have enough money to fly everybody out and fly in whenever he wants to. But
right.
So overall, I do not think he's a Hall of Famer.
So you don't think he's a Hall of Famer?
No. Your debate about not being first ballot, I might be able to jump on that bandwagon. Mm-hmm. But as of right now, I think I need a little more time of him being out of the league to really think about his legacy and see where he falls. Just straight up, I don't know. And I like him. I've always said Rivers deserved to be on a better team. Me personally, he was patient being behind Breeze, and then when Breeze left, he got a shot, but wrong organization at a time where they just weren't the type of team you win a Super Bowl with.
Yeah, look, I mean, my reason on Rivers is, if you look around, like you said, you think he's a top 25 quarterback all time.
Yeah.
To me, if you're top 25 quarterback all time, you're a Hall of Famer.
Okay.
And look, it's just a different.
I think you have to be in the top 24. I'm just kidding. Okay. Like cutting it off by one. No, I think Hall of Fame quarterbacks. I think of the 10 initially, and then maybe 5 after, and I'm like, those are about 15 of them, not 25. Mm-hmm. When I think Hall of Fame quarterback, it's too easy to me for there to be lots of Hall of Fame quarterbacks, because I'm like, you're the quarterback, you're always the most important, you've always gotten the most attention. It's easier for quarterbacks to get in the Hall of Fame, much more so than other players. So when it comes to quarterbacks, I like to shrink that down more, given that they have such an easier chance to be a Hall of Famer in the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and look, I get it, but I just feel like the gates have already been opened. Like, it's not fair to then look at Rivers and say, well, we're judging you more harshly than we, because you're not taking anybody out of the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's to no fault of his own. Yeah. I get that. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So if I go by that logic, then I think he is like a second ballot. He's kind of like Troy Owens. He'd never get the Super Bowl, but he was good enough to put up enough stats where he was competitive amongst the best. Right. So from that, but if I go by the other side of it, then if we're going to start being more stringent going forward about like, hey, we're blowing the Hall of Fame up too fast with too many people, we need to slow it up with people who really deserve to be in there, then I don't think he makes it, personally.
And look, and I get it, because I've been one of the guys who argue plenty of times that it's called the Hall of Fame, not the Hall of Good. Like, there's a lot of guys who are really good, but you're not Hall of Famers. Like, it almost feels like there should be a second branch, like, for like, okay, this is the hall that we celebrate all the great players that have played in the NFL, and then this is the Hall of Fame, and it's like those are the elite guys that were like those once in a generation type talents.
Right.
And look, I'd be okay with that if they did like a separate, like, you can call it whatever you want to call it, the elite branch of the Hall of Fame. Like the Hall of Fame of Hall of Famers. Like, I'd be fine with doing something like that, where it's like almost like you celebrate the absolute greatest, and then you have a separate spot where it's like, okay, well, that's for the rest of them, but then this is the spot. And like that's reserved for, the Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Jerry Rice, those types.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't have a lot of debate about it because in the end, I mean, by current standards, he is going to get in the Hall of Fame. I just think like when you hear a lot of people talk now, what they would like to see is more of what I'm talking about. Like, let's get a little more strict and really bring it down to like make the Hall of Fame like true to it. Like this guy was transcendent. He changed the game. You can't have the conversation without him, like style players.
Because see, I think you can have the debate whether, and I love Philip Rivers, and I actually like this guy I'm about to mention, but you could have the debate over which one was better, Philip Rivers or Donovan McNabb. Like, I think that's a healthy debate, like debating the two of them.
Okay. I take Rivers personally.
I think I would too, but that's like I don't say it to knock my guy Donovan because I'm an Eagles fan, and of course Donovan McNabb's one of those guys. He has such a weird relationship with Eagles fans, like the Eagles fan base.
Yeah, he's like love hate.
Yeah.
He makes some comments where you're like, dude, really?
Yeah.
And then other times he talks normal, like you can't really tell what you're getting with him.
Well, I think there's I don't want to make this about Donovan McNabb, but and I don't think Donovan McNabb's a Hall of Famer. He's one of those guys that falls into it's not the Hall of Good, it's the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But I do tend to think Rivers is just a tick above Donovan and putting him in the Hall of Fame.
Well, look, and to Rivers, to put it in perspective, some people are like, oh, well, he's part of the chart. I was like, yeah, but he did have Gates and Tomlinson at one time. He had good teams where he could have put up a really good fight, and there were times where the moment, the pressure was on, and he didn't do his best. He wasn't always as clutch as he needed to be. So,
sure,
that's what keeps him in a good status and not, up there in the echelon, the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks.
Well, and if you look at the quarterbacks that he came into the NFL with, Ben Roethlisberger, multiple Super Bowls. Eli Manning, multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah, think about this. Every quarterback that was in his class that was before him has won a Super Bowl. Ben Roethlisberger. And when you go down this list of guys, they all won, right? He's the only one who didn't because he was playing those guys on those teams. And those are better organizations that he was playing against.
Yeah, which again leads you to the only conclusion: the Mannings were right. Stay the heck out of San Diego.
Yeah. Oh, hey, at the time that made a lot of sense. Maybe not now. I mean, maybe it seems like this year particularly, them letting go of Lynn, them sourcing the right kinds of coaches. They did make a hire, I believe, for head coach.
Yeah. It was
the Giants,
Staley, right? Joe Staley, the Rams defensive coordinator.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Look, I'm not.
I won't tell whether or not that was the right call.
Yeah, I thought Jason Garrett would have been a better choice for them personally.
It would have been somebody who I think would have really helped Justin Herbert, and I think that's what they have to look at, making sure Herbert takes that next step next year.
Yeah.
We got 4 teams looking to take another step this Sunday. And so I think it's time for us to break down some of those conference championship matchups.
Yeah.
I say let's start with the game coming on early, 3 o'clock in the East. That's the Green Bay Packers playing host to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A Week 6 rematch in which the Buccaneers whooped that ass 38-10. And Aaron Rodgers had a quarterback rating on that day of 31. It was his only game where he had a quarterback rating under 90.
And when Matt LaFleur was interviewed and asked that question about that game, he says it's not. He said it was not important.
I mean, kind of seems like it's important.
So maybe what he's saying is we're a different team. We're in a different place mentally now that we will not be the same team they played last time. I think that's what he's trying to say it like that. Who you got?
I got the Green Bay Packers, despite what I just said about Tampa whooping them in Week 6. I do think this is a different Packers team, and Rodgers is playing on another level. Devontae Adams going to be completely healthy.
Yeah.
He wasn't in that Week 6 matchup. I think Devontae Adams is a difference maker. I mean, that guy's crazy good. Even Jalen Ramsey. If Jalen Ramsey can't shut you down, then nobody's shutting you down.
I know. Did you see him throw that fit on that one play in the corner of the end zone?
Yeah.
And he went to the sideline. He's like, he did this and that and that. And I'm like, dude, either way, you were with him and you got smoked.
Yeah.
So,
you can just tell that was frustration.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to go. I think I'm going to go Green Bay, which is funny being that I thought they were overrated during the season, but I'm going to go Green Bay once again because it's in Lambeau. It actually probably is going to actually snow in this game, they said.
Yeah.
And Tom Brady will be ready for it because he's used to it, but not the rest of the team.
Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are the only two that have played in these kind of cold weather games.
Yeah. Well, Antonio Brown.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, he played in Steelers. But look, I always like to say, a lot of people are like, well, who's got the best quarterback? I'm like, to me, it's not who the best quarterback is. It's what quarterback's playing the best at current time.
Yeah.
And right now, although Brady's doing good, let's not be lie to ourselves. The Bucs defense has brought Tampa along the way a lot of the time, even when Tom hasn't played his best football. Now, Tom did excellent last game. I was very impressed with Tom. But in this game, and I'm going to have to go with Green Bay because in Lambeau, Rodgers right now is MVP. He's playing better than Mahomes. He's playing better than everybody. In fact, there were 2 bombs in that game that Rodgers threw that were over 60 yards that got dropped, and one he just overthrew the guy, because he didn't want to get it picked off, so he threw it further than he needed to, hoping the guy would catch the ball. If he had those, he would have had an extra 120, 140 yards easily stacked onto his stats in that game, and it's freaking his rating obviously would have been higher. I don't remember what he was. I think it was 107 in that game. I can't remember. Yeah. But either way, he was high enough for me to go, holy shit, this is just playing at a freaking high level at the right freaking time. What's weird is I actually didn't pay a lot of attention to the Green Bay defense. I can't quote whether I thought they were good or not. I pretty much stuck to the offense. When the offense wasn't on the field, I was doing other stuff. Mm-hmm. I will say this about Tampa. They beat a good Saints team.
Yes.
And I'm talking on Tom's side of the ball, playing the defense of the Saints. The Saints defense was real. They played hard football. Tom had to work for what he got against them. He didn't get it easily. But on the other side of the fence, that defense ate Drew Brees up. We don't know if Drew Brees is retiring. But when I watched Drew Brees walk out of the field, he had a look like he may have been looking already for the last time. He really did.
He definitely had that feel like he was saying goodbye.
Yeah, he had this look like he stopped and looked at the tunnel and he waved and did some stuff. Now I don't know if you saw the video. Him and Tom met on the field after the game, and Tom Brady threw footballs to his sons, Drew Brees' sons. Yeah. But that's after the game. But when the fans were there, Drew Brees did have a little bit of like he was waving his hat outside the dugout like last game.
Yeah, the curtain call
style. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now could be looking into it too much. He might announce it tomorrow and make us look stupid and be like, dude, I'm not going anywhere. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. But he did say he was going to take the time to think about it and whatnot, which means he hasn't decided. Otherwise, he probably would just put it out there right away.
Right. Well, I know last year it had been rumored that he was going to retire at the end of last season. And in fact, that he said if he had to answer the question, like if he had to commit to an answer right at the end of last season, he probably would have said, yeah, he was done. He said he went home, thought about it some, and just like, you know what? If I walk away, like I can always walk away, but like if I feel like I can still come back, I should come back because like once you walk away, it's pretty much over.
Yeah.
And so I think he just decided, okay, I'm coming back. And so he's now, from what I heard, he said he's waiting a little while and is going to let the Saints know before the start of the league year what his intentions are. Because I was thinking every player should do that.
We got that. We got Rivers retiring and whatnot. I think, I don't think that Tampa can't compete against Green Bay, but I do think Tampa isn't going to stop the big plays by Rodgers. I think they'll shut down, the majority of their regular slant passes and stuff like that. What I did like what I was seeing with the Buccaneers that I hadn't seen in the past, it kind of looks like Arians has given some reins over to let Tom kind of run the offense as he sees fit. I'm seeing a lot more slant run receivers running through spots and whatnot. The deep ball he's brought the deep ball back a little bit to where he's regressed from throwing deep all the time and stuck it to like the small chip away. And we all know, as you've seen with the Falcons, Tom has no problem with just eating away at you until he thinks you're toast. So I think he prefers that style. It's what he's used to in New England. I think that helps them build momentum and confidence versus, throwing 2 bombs, and if they don't make it, you got one play and then you're punting. I think that helps his confidence. So, but with all that said, GOAT or not, I think Rodgers is playing the best football right now. It is home field advantage when it comes to weather. I'm going to have to give the nod to Green Bay.
It's funny, home teams during the regular season ended up 1 game below 500 for the season, the entire league. And I always thought that was curious. That's never happened before. And that's no fans. And so to me, my takeaway from that is we matter. Like us being there and the fans, the noise we make, it matters. It contributes to, and now Green Bay is going to have fans there this Sunday. And I'm so happy because I couldn't imagine going through the playoffs without seeing fans in the stands.
Yeah, man. Look, me and Eric, we obviously text outside of the game and whatnot. I've been telling Eric, I went and downloaded all the Nebraska versus Miami versus Florida State versus the Orange Bowls. I'm going back and watching, and it's weird to see a freaking crowd in a game. Now I'm watching some old footage, but it's loud, it's intense. I mean, when they're lining up and there's 35 seconds on the clock, I mean, the crowd is on their feet. It's insane. This is college where there's more people in the stadium, obviously. Mm-hmm. The point is, it's just weird. It literally is weird for me to see a full stadium packed with people on TV. It's weird.
And how weird / cool will it be the first time we're able to turn on a game and see a packed house? Or if next September we turn on college football game day and they've got the full crowd behind them going nuts. And I mean, the first time that happens, it's going to be emotional. It's going to be crazy. And I still I look forward to that. Like you said, it's weird to watch now. But I do think that home field advantage is going to help Green Bay this Sunday. I know that they've had fans. I think most of the season in Kansas City. I don't know if they ever.
A lot of teams have had fans. It's been about a 12 to 25% capacity max.
Right. Well,
most teams have been playing with that. I'm going to go. I think Green Bay wins this by 14. I actually think in the fourth quarter they just literally pull away from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I could see something like that where it's a close game at the half. I actually wouldn't even be surprised to see Tampa leading at the half.
Yeah, and I do think this is going to be, on Green Bay side, a big play breakout. I don't think this is going to be they just beat them down the field physically and whatnot. I think Rodgers is going to have some deep throws that Tampa just gets out of zone, out of coverage, or they man up on the wrong spot, and Rodgers is just that type that just takes advantage of it so fast. Mm-hmm. I forgot what the one play was. I think they were on the 7-yard line in the red zone about to score, and Rodgers saw a check down. And he called an audible, and this guy motioned. And right when he hiked it, he literally turned it through. As if once he knew where a certain guy was, he knew exactly where to hit it. Which reminded me of something that I saw today about Rivers. J.J. Watt put a post on his Twitter that said, I've had some of the best times playing against Phillip Rivers. One of my favorite times was he lined up and told our linebacker, "You're in the wrong spot for your zone blitz you're about to try to do to me." And the linebacker was in the wrong spot, and J.J. Watt said, "I'll never forget when he said that to him."
That's awesome.
So that just shows you how intelligent Phillips is, and it shows you how when smart quarterbacks, which Rodgers is probably or obviously a better quarterback than Rivers, you can imagine what he can do when he sees things lined up a certain way. And I felt like I saw that in the last game against them. So I'm going to go 14, Green Bay.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a good number. Like you said, I think they pull away in the second half. And I think it could be one of those deflating things like Tampa works their way down the field, fights and gets a touchdown. And then like Green Bay, 3 plays, like 75 yards, and like with a 50-yard bomb for a touchdown. And it's like it can be so deflating to the Bucs.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's what I was gonna say. I feel like from a morale standpoint,
yeah,
Green Bay is going to win this game. It's not going to be from just like a physical beatdown. So we got we got next.
Well, the AFC Championship game, the game that if you check back in September, somebody said when you said, "Okay, we both think the Chiefs." Who do you think is going to be that team?
Yeah,
I appreciate you giving it up for me there.
We both thought this would be a Saints Kansas City Super Bowl.
Yeah,
we already lost one of those teams, and we have a possible team that could get knocked off, and that would destroy the whole thing we've been saying all year. That no matter what, it's probably going to end up being them too.
Yeah.
What's your instinct here? Are the Kansas City still playing good enough ball where you think the Bills are good, but they're not that good yet, or do you think this is the dethroning of Kansas City by the Bills? Not what you want. What do you think is going to happen?
Right.
I want the Bills to win.
Yeah, of course. I want the Bills to win. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of the Eagles and the Rams 2001 NFC title game where the Eagles were knocking on that door, and we thought, man, maybe not this year, but sometime soon they're going to kick that door in. And I think the Bills are right there. They're knocking on that door. They're going to be, over the course of the next few years, they're going to be right there competing for championships every year. I just think this is one of those years. I think this is the year where they get that chip on their shoulder, where they get that reason to be hungry next year, because I think they lose a real tough game. Like, I don't think this is a blowout at all. I think Chiefs by like a late score, so Chiefs by 7. So, but I think it is going to be a very tight game, but I think Kansas City wins.
Yeah, I think Kansas City wins. I think it's going to come down to a field goal. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping the Bills take it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm going to be rooting hard for the Bills.
Yeah, I think I have become I mean, I've always liked the Bills because I like Beasley. So anywhere Beasley goes, I just like him because he's my kind of receiver. Quick little slant cross, bam, gets yards, takes the hit, gets back up, kind of like an Edelman, and just keeps knocking away. And you're like, damn, dude, this dude's friggin' down 180 yards on us, and we didn't even know it because it's all small yardage. So I like that. I think the Bills make a good story. I think it's why I'd like to see them get through. That would be, but I'd be lying if I didn't say it wouldn't be cool to see either the GOAT or Rodgers against Mahomes, because I'll either have, the GOAT versus the new breed, that's replacing his legacy eventually, probably with being one of the greatest, or I'm having the Allstate commercial fight each other out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right? And I do think if Rodgers was to beat Mahomes, I think that challenges Mahomes' supremacy as being better than Rodgers, in my opinion.
And, dude, they got to have – if it's Packers-Chiefs, like, State Farm has to do a commercial during that bye week of Rodgers and Mahomes, like, competing against each other in a bunch of different competitions and stuff. Like,
I did think Kansas City was going to be rusty.
Mm-hmm.
They're one of the few teams I've seen that even with that long being off, was it 21 days or whatever?
Yeah.
They didn't look like it.
Yeah,
So that's either they're that good of a team or that's Andy Reid.
Well, Andy Reid with extra time to prepare is always dangerous.
Yeah. Who do you think is coach of the year?
Maybe Sean McDermott, the Bills.
It's either him or the Browns head coach.
Yeah. Stefanski was my next choice.
I was gonna say because he's done a lot. And I want to make sure I say this about the Browns. Baker played the best game I've ever seen him play. He may have lost, but that's the best game he's ever played. And, I mean, he made some absolutely fantastic calls. And, we can't say for sure whether that call in the end zone, that helmet to helmet, would have gave them points, but I'm not saying that would have won the game for them, but it certainly would have been closer. The fact that the Browns competed on the level they did and played the kind of football they did against a team that good says a lot about where the Browns were headed.
Yeah. And can I just say that whole rule, I know it's the correct interpretation of the rule, but that rule on a fumble out of the end zone being a touchback, That rule sucks.
Yeah. It should be the same as if I catch it in the field and I drop it and it rolls out.
Yeah.
Same thing. I don't get.
It shouldn't be a touchdown, but I'm fine with the ball goes to wherever the spot was that the player lost control of the ball.
Yeah.
Like that's where the ball should go to. And it should stay with the offensive team. I know that's the correct interpretation of the way the rule's written now. That's something I'd like to be changed, though.
Well, look, and y'all give the NFL credit. They've been real good that if something just is jacking up the game, looking ridiculous, they'll either go take a look at it or they'll do a short-term implementation of something different and see if that's better. And if it is, they stick with it. I like that the NFL does that they're willing to even go, that's not working. Let's go back to how it was, pull that back out after 2 games. I like that the NFL will do that. They won't sit on it all year and wait for a whole nother year to take it back out or fix it.
I just worry that they just, it doesn't happen often enough to where, like, it's a major problem, not like, the way they catch.
Well, it brings up another point. Why can't any play just be reviewable if the refs deem so?
Yeah.
This rule book of reviewable and not reviewable. If the refs or New York say that needs to be reviewed, it should be reviewed, period.
Yeah. I think New York.
I get it if you don't want the coaches.
Time in stopping a game.
I get it if you don't want the coaches to be able to challenge everything. But if the refs in New York,
right,
they are the officiating crew. If they decide it's reviewable, it's freaking reviewable. I mean,
yeah. And if a coach calls timeout to give New York or whoever will be in charge of it a chance to look at it, then. Like, if they end up deciding to review it, then they just say, okay, we're awarding that timeout back to the team, and we're looking at the play.
Well, they should just take a look at the tape and go, what plays are coaches constantly going, damn, if I could review that, we would have had, like, whatever those 2 or 3 items are, make them reviewable by coaches throwing the red flag. Whatever things have been, to me, especially in a playoff game, all touchdowns should be reviewable.
Well, all touchdown, all scoring plays, and all turnovers.
Anything that crosses the plane should be reviewable, whether it goes to the other team or whatnot. They would have caught the helmet to helmet.
Well, okay, but penalties are not reviewable, and that's where, like, because that's where it becomes subjective, and I don't want to see them slow the game up so much.
Right. Okay. But what I'm saying is to the refs. Mm-hmm. I get it. Coaches would be like, nope, he hit me. Nope, he pulled my collar. Nope. But if the refs go, we think, that after reviewing or the refs just need something to where they instantly see it again right when it happens. So if it's up on the Trendtron or a lot of people don't know about this, but like Google makes a pair of glasses you can wear where video plays in one eye. They should have a thing they can put down, look at it and go, oh yeah, man, that's helmet to helmet. And then throw the flag right there. Like,
right.
I get it. Obviously, we need to tweak it. We need to figure it out. But something's got to happen to where people aren't going, dude, you missed. It's like the Saints game. You missed one of the biggest things that changed the entire outcome of the game.
Yeah.
We had another one
without being able to challenge pass interference. Like, there's so many ways in which that affected things. Like, I look at the Eagles and Packers game, and I'm sorry to bring up another Eagles game but the Eagles scored a touchdown on a play, but it got called back for offensive pass interference. And they go back and look at, I forget why they were reviewing. Well, yeah, because it's a scoring play, so it automatically gets reviewed as opposed to having to challenge it. And they look back and said, no, that wasn't offensive pass interference, and the touchdown stood. Like, to me, it's like if there's something that it's obvious a call was missed on the field, like, come on, like, we're trying to get it right. If that's the whole point, then let's try to get it right.
Yeah, look, I'm sure the NFL every year does take a look, like what happened with Megatron at one point and all that stuff. I think eventually they go, man, the crowd's getting pissed off. This is obviously annoying our fans. We need to take a look at this. I think they just need to take, go, what rules are constantly, always controversial, and which calls are always, what kind of things are always happening, but they're not getting seen or caught until after the fact, and then it's too late. And how do we address that? Just tackle those 2 issues, find some kind of balance in there, and I think they'll take care of themselves after that. But if you don't give people the option to even address something that clearly happened, in this day and age, if we're going to do 80 freaking replay stops for them to review when coaches, we're already slowing the game down so much. What's it going to hurt to throw one more thing that New York goes, you missed a call, throw a flag right now, and then say this. Like, New York can just go, by the way, there was helmet to helmet on that, throw a flag right now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you can assign, okay? So you can assign one guy as like the replay guy for each game. And so his job is he's watching that game to see basically anytime the ref screwed up. And he can buzz down and he can say, and he overrides because he's got the better view of everything. He can come down and override and say, no, you missed that. That's helmet to helmet, throw a flag now. Or like you said, or that's pass interference. Throw the flag now.
Or just have like a cannon in the corner of the field. Wherever New York, they hit a button and just shoot the flag out into the field. Oh my God, that'd be freaking cool though, man. Then you're like, okay, they blow the whistle, plays over, then boom.
Can you imagine being in the crowd? It's like you look over and you see that cannon, and when the cannon goes off, all of a sudden, if it's like going to be against your team, boo! Like all the. Or when
it should be a flag that like goes with the wind and has a giant question mark on it. No, what could it be? It's like a freaking president arriving. Yeah.
But look, it'd be great. It's like you see a play. It's like, oh man, we didn't get that play.
We've never had a playoff in recent memory that doesn't have some controversial call. So I'm saying they need to just take a look and go, what are these plays that are happening? They're always in the end zone, or they're always something the refs missed.
Well, I saw an article today. It broke down each team, the biggest instance in which the refs screwed over that team. And like I'm just as I'm reading this, I'm like, it is sad that they literally have an example for every single team of how the worst spot where the refs screwed over that team. And I'm like, at what point do we look at this and say we got to fix this?
Yeah, look, we understand that human eyesight isn't perfect,
sure.
But if you're going to have it to where New York can overrule them anyways, why not have them the de facto caller, period, and the rest are literally there just to carry out their bidding and the regular, rules of the game on the field.
Well, and again, I don't have a problem. The referee sees something, he throws a flag. But if he misses it, then I agree with you. There should be a buzz down. Look, you got
14 games, 14 games a week. What do you got? 2 buys out. How many games are going on in an average NFL day during regular season? 14?
16. Well,
no, because someone has a bye.
Not always.
All right. Well, anyways, my point is that the NFL can afford to hire enough people to just watch that game and look for penalties, like you're saying.
Yeah.
We know they can. They make over $200 million that they hand checks to per each team, not counting what the NFL makes itself. That's just what each team makes, $220 million plus whatever the year's increases. This year, I think it goes down. Point is that the NFL isn't poor; they can afford it. Go pay $100,000 to guys with great eyesight that all they do is monitor replays of every game.
I want that job.
Hire 16 dudes, and that's all they do. You have a job. What? 4 days a week,
Yeah.
So, look, you'll have Sunday, you'll have Monday, and you'll have Thursday. And then let's say you have someone that just sits there and looks at replays to see what we missed so they can tell the next crew, hey, last week, even though we're replay guys, we still missed this. Have one guy that all he does is review everything. So,
and that goes down after the game. Like there's somebody would have a job, a senior member.
Like watching game tape, but it's replay tape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways.
So now we fixed NFL's problems.
You're going Chiefs. I'm going Chiefs. You're going Green Bay. I'm going Green Bay.
There's not much controversy involved.
Yeah, we don't have any controversy. Now, let's think about the Super Bowl. Let's say both our teams get there, Green Bay, Kansas City. And then we'll play Russian roulette. We'll move the teams around. But let's say the two givens go.
Mm-hmm. I think Kansas City repeats.
Okay.
And I think Kansas City would beat Tampa as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, see, I think Tampa is a little lopsided. Tampa's way more defense than they are offense. And I think
one area I'll give Tampa the event. If Tampa Bay were to win and go to the Super Bowl, guess where the Super Bowl is?
Yeah. Tampa Bay.
That would be pretty insane. This is, the second time here recently that a team's had a chance to host a Super Bowl.
Dude, what if they won?
Right?
If they won Tom Brady's crazy. Tom Brady should hang it up. I'd be like, hang it up, because next year you probably get to the championship or something, but you probably won't get on the Super Bowl.
Right.
Go out having more glory than anybody, even Mahomes, any of these guys being able to do what your dynasty did at one point is probably, there's a lot of times where people will go, that's probably never going to happen again. And I'm like, no, you never know. There'll be some kid that's like a superstar or whatnot. But I got to be honest, I don't know. I really don't think we're going to have anybody repeat what happened with the Patriots dynasty. I really don't. 20
years of just, yeah.
Amount of appearances, amount of wins, and then if Tom gets one somewhere else, I just think that was pure, luck, strategic, timing, pedigree, style coach, style quarterback. I think it just all worked right. It didn't work right for 3 Super Bowls in 4 years like some of the greatest. It worked right for double that.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
When the Cowboys did 3 in 4 years and we should have had 4, people, oh my God, there's nothing like them. Someone came along and doubled that.
Yeah.
Triple the appearances and double the Super Bowls.
Yeah.
That's insane, man. It's insane. When I think about how talented my team was and some team came along and doubled what my team could do, that is crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, and I got to be honest, like at the end of that Cowboy dynasty, as happy as I was to see it end, part of me did sit there and say, I'll never see anything like that again. And I was right. I didn't. I saw something twice as good. You
know what? I didn't. Well, I won't say that. What I will say is I haven't seen talent like I saw together on the Cowboys. But what I did see that was better than I'd never seen a system like the Patriots machine. That the way they did things,
right?
That was something I had never seen before. The Cowboys were really a chemistry-driven team. They just happened to have the right players, a super amount of talent, a coach with psychology that can handle the egos, and a leader like Troy Aikman who knew how to be a coach on the field as well as a quarterback, and with superstar talent and the triplets and all that, and Dion and Norton and all that. It was just amazing, but. Had the Cowboys been in a system like the Patriots, shit, they could have done a lot more than they did. But I've never seen anything like the Patriots system before. But Tom Brady was a big gear, and those gears being able to go. And he's proven that now that he's left. Patriots system ain't looking so sharp.
And I'll say that I always thought that Troy Aikman was the most important part of that Cowboys team, too, because he was he was an extension of the coach on the field.
Yeah. There's no way they could have done.
I really appreciated how much the quarterback had to do and just how much of a leader they had to be.
Yeah, and you'd have to watch Troy Aikman Football Life, which you may have already.
Yeah.
But if you watch that, Troy Aikman makes a lot of comments about how he had to basically pay daddy on the field half the time, especially with Barry Switzer, who was very loose and have a good time and go to the club afterwards. No big deal. Just make sure you're here at the game tomorrow, which was a complete reversal of the way Jimmy Johnson did things.
Yeah, and Troy was more of he believed in the Jimmy Johnson approach. You want to do the club, so you do that. You save that for the off season.
Yeah, Troy Aikman came from a very stern father. If you know about anything about his family life, where basically, if he didn't do something right, his dad would take him out and make him punch a shed wall, type of dad. So he believed in play and then, or work hard and then play. Whereas Barry Switzer was like, just play. He liked it loose, and to some degree. That worked for players like Deion Sanders, who were like, dude, I love being loose all the time. That's how I play good football. I don't get too serious. Right. Where, the old statement of Jerry Rice and Deion Sanders, Jerry Rice was being bet at 8 kind of guy, and Deion Sanders was, what's the big deal? Like, I want to have a good time. It's what makes me lose before my game. It's all about your wiring, man. I don't really think there's a right or wrong. I think there's just a time and circumstance. And if all that chemistry works right, it just flows. I didn't get to experience the 85 Bears and the Steel Curtain and understand the cultures back then and whatnot, other than watching like an ESPN 30 for 30 or something catching up. And, all I knew basically was the 90s, the Bills, the Cowboys, the Eagles defense. Those were what I grew up watching, what I understood and philosophies and whatnot. So, after the Cowboys, I didn't see anybody who looked like they were ever going to do that again. So when the Patriots in 2000, all of a sudden, 5 years later, won their first two. I was like, okay, there are a lot of teams who've been able to pull off two.
Sure.
The other day with a good quarterback and the right coach. I did. One of the weirdest firings or letting go of coaches I ever saw was the Ravens letting go of what's his name in 2000 or 2001.
Brian Billick.
Yeah, Brian Billick was a good coach. I was real surprised that guy wasn't a coach anymore.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not like there hasn't been people that have looked at him. Whenever there was a coaching vacancy for a long time, heck, even when Andy Reid got let go here in Philadelphia, a lot of people thought, hey, would they go and try and get Brian Billick out of retirement?
Yeah.
And I think he's one of those guys. He went to go work at the NFL Network. He likes his job. He gets to do 1 or 2 days a week doing little things where they bring him on and ask him an opinion on something.
Yeah, I watched an interview with him and they asked him about being a coach. Why not? He said no one called him to be a coach again. He said he got no phone calls, no requests. That's why he didn't end up being a coach again.
That's crazy.
Right? I was saying that too. So on the subject of coaches, who do you think the Eagles are going to go with at this point?
Well, I'll tell you, it's been all week it's been looking like Josh McDaniels. But I'll say this, if Josh McDaniels was the guy, I feel like they would have hired him already. I feel like they are looking real hard at him, hoping that something comes along to just change their mind. That's the way it looks. I think they want to get either Eric Bieniemy from Kansas City or maybe Todd Bowles from Tampa. It'd be interesting if either Tampa or Kansas City were to lose this weekend. I would not be surprised if Monday morning the Eagles are talking to Bieniemy or talking to Todd Bowles and hiring them as the head coach.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Jason Garrett being the coach of the Eagles. At one point, man, I thought when I saw the Cowboys picture when they were still looking at coaches and what are the Cowboys at, I thought that was Jason Garrett. I was like, whoa, what? I did.
No, Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, that's who they looked at.
Well, Kellen Moore, you know what, though? I couldn't blame him there. Kellen Moore's a smart kid. He's a good play caller.
Great choice.
Yeah, he's a good play caller. You couldn't go wrong with him. I'd hate for y'all to take him because I want him on my team as an offensive coordinator. But, hey, I want a lot of these guys to get their shot in the NFL too. What about the Buffaloes guy, the bearded guy, bald dude, big dude? Didn't get hired?
Yeah. Brian Dabo. Yeah, that's or Brian Dable.
Did he get hired though?
No. I know he was getting offered somebody.
Yeah, I don't know why.
But he can't get hired yet because the Bills aren't eliminated, so they can't announce anything.
Right. But I know that he on the Eagles chart he was crossed off as not an option. So I'm wondering. Yeah,
well, I think it was because he kind of indicated that he wasn't interested in the job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we talked about that last segment. I personally wouldn't be interested in the Eagles job unless I got some real good commitment guarantee that you're not cutting me.
Yeah. And look, I don't blame you. I don't think it's any coincidence that the two vacancies right now are the Eagles and the Texans that are probably two jobs that, man.
A lot of question marks.
Yeah. Because how can you feel safe? The Texans, there's a lot of talk that Deshaun Watson's going to be out the door. And he could really, Deshaun Watson could talk himself out of Houston. It really looks like he's.
Well, he's not returning the Texans' phone calls as of right now.
Oh,
yeah. So I'm kind of it may already be at the end. Mm-hmm. Now, look, if we've already hired a GM, which is probably what ticked him off in the first place. He wanted to be a part of that process. We've already got a GM, and if I don't know what the GM's thinking or whatnot, or if they've given up on Watson at this point, going, okay, we just need to trade him. Figure out you can get a shitload of stuff for Watson. He's a once in a decade kind of draft to be able to get. So I'm there are a lot of teams out there that I think he'd be a good fit for. I think we talked about last time. I think Deshaun Watson make a good 49er, good in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine Shanahan coaching freaking Watson? Oh, dude, that'd be deadly. That'd make it extremely competitive all of a sudden. This is crazy to think about, and it'll probably never happen. But imagine if Doug Pederson had stayed there, and he's like, "Look, we got to trade Wentz or whatnot," and they took on Watson somehow. Can you imagine Watson to Philadelphia? I mean, that would be insane.
Imagine it.
I would have to be like, all right, I got to watch the Eagles game now.
It's funny because one of the guys who I text with all the time says to me, he knows how big a Carson Wentz guy I am. He's like, if the Eagles could trade Carson Wentz to Houston right now for Deshaun Watson, and he said, would you do it? And I said, if we could trade Carson Wentz to Houston for Deshaun Watson, I would drive Carson Wentz to Houston, not to the airport, to Houston.
Dude, I would give Dak and Zeke together away to get Watson.
Right?
Watson is, I've got to watch this guy being here in obviously Houston. That guy is transcendent.
Yeah.
That guy is a once in a whatever year. Put him on a good team, and I want to see if Mahomes is still considered the best quarterback.
For real,
Get
man.
Watson on a good team, and then I'll be able to go. Now we have, Watson's talent surrounded by talent, just like Mahomes' talent surrounded by talent.
It's funny with Phillip Rivers retiring in Indianapolis. Man, I got a picture. They'd be one of those teams that would go all out to try to get Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't think the Texans would do it because that's inside the division and they wouldn't want to. But
yeah,
if they made him the best offer, they might be willing to.
Well, and here's the deal. I mean, Dak is going to be a free agent, and he said he is going to enter the free agent market. Obviously, trying to bait the Cowboys into making him a big offer, so he didn't do it. But point is that they can go, hey, Dak's a free agent. We can take a shot at Watson.
Yeah. Hey, trade your whole draft to Houston and go get.
You know what? I'm not kidding. I would. I'd give my 2 first-round draft picks and maybe a 3rd-round draft pick up to get Watson. Like, I don't think people understand. That's like Mahomes being on the market right now. If Mahomes is a free agent right now,
to you. Okay, you're now Jerry Jones has hired you as the general manager. Okay,
right.
And
wait, hold on. Did Watson get to have a say in hiring me or not?
He may have in this scenario, but okay. So Jerry, you get on a phone call with Houston, and you say, "Hey, what's it going to take to get Deshaun Watson?" If they tell you, okay, 1st rounder this year, 2nd rounder this year. 1st rounder next year, 2nd rounder next year.
Yeah. I don't think people realize, like, I would give up.
I'm with you.
I would probably even say, if I'm Jerry Jones, I might even say, you know what? Just for the hell of it, take Steven Jones with you. Like, just could take him. Like, I'm going to give you my car. Here's the keys. Like, hell. Like, if I can take the stadium,
their home games at AT&T Stadium.
Yeah.
We traded him the stadium.
Yeah. They're like, hey, Jerry, but we need you to kind of, if you want Watson, we need to do one thing for you to get him. You'd have to give up being GM and back off of football. Hell no, I don't want Watson. Get that boy out of here. That's the only thing to keep him coming. Yeah, I thought about it. I'm like, hey, Dak, you sure you want to threaten free agency? There's a kid in Texas right now that shot at for what we could pay you a year and just go say, hey, we'll give you that a year.
Oh, man. I mean, because
and Watson is worth $40-something million a year.
Yeah. Yeah, Deshaun Watson, like you said, I would love to see Deshaun Watson on a real NFL team. Because right now.
Think about it. The Texans would go, well, he'd be out of the AFC.
Yeah.
Let's get him to an NFC team. Get him out of here. So, I wonder either that.
The Washington football team.
Either that or the Texans are going to be dicks. Like, oh, you want to be a dickhead? We're going to trade you somewhere shitty. We're going to give you to the Jets.
Well, hey, look, and then the Texans could get the number 2 all pick and go get Fields at Ohio State.
And the Jets said they would be interested in Deshaun Watson. So it's a possibility.
Sure. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah. Some people said that. I'm like, oh, wow, the Jets are interested in a top-tier talent? Go figure, considering they've had their pick of the litter for the last 10 years and can't do shit with it.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude,
That's going to be one of the intriguing storylines.
I seriously could see the Texans send them to the Jets just to say, you'll never probably be anybody. In fact, you'll be worse than you were on the Texans, probably on the Jets. Mm-hmm. And you'll be in the Big Apple. You'll have a better night in private life probably and more fun and that. But as far as like winning, never going to happen.
I could see them being spiteful like that too.
I could. You know, if you're not going to return my phone calls and I gave you a $156 million contract, I'm going to have some bitterness on the Texans too. You know, look, I could get it if you come in, you return my phone calls, and we're just not getting anywhere.
Right.
And then, you know, people interview you and you're like, look, you know, our conversations haven't been very productive. You know, he pulls a Harden. You know, I'd rather just go somewhere else and be able to start over, a clean slate and whatnot. I think if you put some professionalism on him, I could do it. But here's the deal. Deshaun Watson has always been a stand-up guy. Dabo Swinney says this kid off the field is amazing, his attitude about life and whatnot. You're telling me that all of a sudden Deshaun Watson's like, no, I don't feel like calling Texans back. Something freaking happened. Something was said. Something chapped his hide and got him to back off far enough not to return their phone calls. And it isn't just we're not doing well or you didn't include me in a meeting. Something happened that took this kid's great attitude and made him completely withdraw.
I think it's a domino effect. It's all a big buildup. It's not just one or two things. I think it's, you know, they trade DeAndre Hopkins. Bill O'Brien, I think there was the clash between him and O'Brien.
Dude, all of Houston wanted to hang Bill O'Brien when he did that. None of us were okay with that decision. Nobody in Houston was like, oh, yeah, it makes sense. We get it. You know, no one's here was like, the only two names you hear on the Texans before Watson were J.J. Watt and Hopkins, and you got rid of half that puzzle. Are you nuts? Like, in 2019 – or I'm sorry, 2018, Hopkins didn't drop one pass the entire season. Not one. How do you trade that?
Wow, I think Nelson Aguilar, as an Eagles, dropped more passes since we've been talking.
Yeah, man, I'm real curious to see what happens with Watson. I feel like Houston – you know, we're losing, what's his name on the Astros? He's going to the Toronto.
Yeah, Springer. Yeah.
We lost Harden. We could be losing Watson. It seems like Houston might just want to, across the board, just say, fuck it, we're going to rebuild everything. All forward.
They go over to the Children's Hospital and just start tearing
we even fired our foosball coach, our champion foosball coach. We're just going to rebuild everything here. Like, so, yeah, man, that will be the most interesting story to me is what happens with Watson of the year.
Yeah, that's something that we'll definitely follow along throughout
the whole a lifetime quarterback wanting off your team after he just cried at a conference about getting his salary and how grateful he was. And less than 90 days later, this kid's not returning your phone calls. What the hell is going on?
But I'm telling you, I think it's a cumulative effect. The clash with Bill O'Brien, the trading of Hopkins, and
J.J. Watt basically, kind of indirectly throwing kind of a warning to him, get out of here if you can, this team sucks.
Yeah. And I think he's come to terms with the fact that it's just never going to get any better there. And so the best thing for him is to get out.
Yep. Well, that's all I got.
Yeah, speaking of getting out, that's what we're going to do now. Everybody – have a great weekend. Enjoy this. We've only got 3 football games left in this season. That's a real depressing thought. 2 of them are this Sunday.
Or you could be like me, and you could download all the great college bowl games and just watch one every night like football's still going on.
What are you talking about, man?
I got Miami, Ohio State, 1997. I'm watching tomorrow.
Well, there you go. You could be like Jay, and which everybody likes to do, be like Landry here. And watch some crazy old college football game.
Yeah. Like my girlfriend was in the room the other day, and I ran over there and I stuck her. And she's like, what'd you do that for? I was like, I hope none of your ribs are there anymore. I said, Nebraska option 95, Tommy Frazier. How many tackles can one man break? Oh, my God. If they don't have them yet, touchdown. Greatest play in NFL in NCAA history.
To me, the greatest moment in any college football game history is –
let me mute myself.
When O.J. Simpson's interviewing Lawrence Phillips.
Dude, so me and Eric were talking during the game. I was watching the Florida State versus Nebraska game, 1993, 1993 game, but it was on January 1st, 1994. But I had never watched the game before. I had no idea that Chris Collinsworth was on there, who looked skinny like a freaking bird. And I had no idea that the man on the field doing the player interviews was freaking O.J. Simpson, talking about, Lawrence Phillips, who hung himself and allegedly raped his girlfriend in Nebraska during college. So it was just ironic moment that the year he was basically on the field doing player interviews the year before his major event happened.
Yeah. Well, on that note, everybody, have a great night. We'll see you next week, and enjoy the football.